Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. Lately, silence had become the loudest sound in our house. It used to be filled with music, laughter, and the clinking of glasses while Lily cooked her favorite pasta and I stole kisses behind her shoulder. But now, even the air between us felt cold, like everything beautiful had been drained, leaving only routine. We live in a beautiful two-story home just outside Seattle. I'd built part of it myself when times were better, when I still believed that love meant working through the cracks. Every morning I'd wake before sunrise, pour her coffee the way she liked, 2 sugars, 1 cream, and leave it by the nightstand before heading to work. Some days she'd smile and whisper a thank you half asleep. Most days she didn't notice. Lily was different now. The woman I married had fire in her eyes, ambition, humor, warmth. The woman standing in front of the mirror each morning, perfecting her lipstick for client meetings, seemed like a stranger playing her role. She laughed more on her phone than she ever did with me. She'd started dressing differently, wearing perfume I hadn't bought. At first, I told myself it was stress. Everyone changes under pressure. But when she started coming home late and smelling faintly of a man's cologne, the kind I didn't own, something inside me began to shut down. That night, while folding laundry, I found a receipt tucked into her jacket pocket from a luxury restaurant I couldn't afford even if I maxed out 2 cards. 2 entrees, 1 bottle of wine, a date night that wasn't ours. I remember sitting there for a long time, just staring at that receipt. My hands didn't shake, and I didn't cry. Instead, something inside me went perfectly still. 10 years together, and I suddenly realized I didn't recognize the woman I'd promised forever to. The next few days, I watched her more closely. The way she smiled at her phone and quickly turned the screen when I entered the room. The way she started humming again, softly, absently, the way she used to when she was falling in love. Except this time, it wasn't with me. One night, I couldn't hold it anymore. "Lily," I said quietly, "are you happy with me?" She looked up from her laptop, startled. "What kind of question is that?" "An honest one," I replied. "You barely look at me anymore." She laughed, a short, dismissive sound. "Mark, don't be dramatic. I'm just busy. Too busy to remember your husband exists," I said, trying to smile but failing. She rolled her eyes. "God, you sound like my dad. I'm not your responsibility. Mark, you don't have to fix me." Her words cut deep, because fixing things was what I did, for work, for us, for her. That was my love language. But that night, lying awake beside her, I realized something crucial. She didn't want to be fixed. She wanted to feel something new again, even if it meant destroying what we'd built. A week later, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed with a message preview that froze me mid-step. "Can't wait to see you Friday." I booked the suite. Same place. The name under it wasn't saved, but I didn't need it to know. I spent hours sitting at my desk that night, staring at old pictures, her smile, our wedding day, the little garden we planted together. It all looked like a lie now, carefully staged for a camera that had no idea what was coming. That's when the idea started forming, not out of rage, but out of clarity. I wasn't going to yell, or beg, or accuse. I was going to make sure she revealed herself in the most public, unforgettable way possible. So when she mentioned that her parents wanted to take us out for our anniversary dinner, I said yes instantly. I smiled, kissed her forehead, and said, "You deserve a night to remember." The irony was, she would. Over the following week, I played the part perfectly. I cooked breakfast. I brought flowers. I laughed at her jokes. She thought I'd finally moved on from my insecurities. What she didn't realize was that I was documenting everything. Screenshots, receipts, timestamps, all neatly stored on a hidden drive labeled under her maiden name. I even called Derek's wife. Yeah, the man she thought I didn't know about. At first, she didn't believe me. But when I forwarded the photos Lily had taken in that hotel mirror, the same one Derek's wife recognized from their anniversary trip last year, her silence said everything. We made a deal. We wouldn't expose them yet. Not until the timing was perfect. By the time the anniversary dinner rolled around, I'd rehearsed every word. She looked stunning that night. Red dress, hair perfectly curled, perfume that filled the car like a memory I didn't want to remember. "You look beautiful," I said. and I meant it. She smiled almost shyly. Maybe we needed this. A reset. I nodded, keeping my eyes on the road. Yeah, a reset. When we arrived, her family greeted us with hugs and loud chatter. I played my part effortlessly. The caring husband, patient, proud, loving. She basked in it. Until she didn't. Midway through dinner, her mother raised a toast and asked Lily to say a few words about her marriage. Lily laughed, glancing at her friends. Well, she began, swirling her wine. He's not perfect, but he tries. She smirked, adding sometimes. The laughter around the table was instant, loud. She looked at me, expecting me to join in. I didn't. I just smiled, slow, calm, deliberate. Then I leaned forward and said, and sometimes a man stops trying. The room went dead silent. Her face drained of color, and for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. That moment wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was the match. The fire was still coming. The ride home that night was the kind of silence that hums, thick, charged, waiting to explode. Rain tapped against the windshield as I drove, each drop echoing the pulse in my jaw. Lily stared out her window, her reflection fractured by passing headlights. Finally, she broke the quiet. You didn't have to say that in front of everyone, she whispered. Say what? I asked flatly, eyes fixed on the road. She turned toward me, her voice sharp now. You know exactly what. You embarrass me in front of my family. They think we're having problems. I almost laughed. Having problems? That was her biggest concern. We are, I said calmly. You just don't notice because you're too busy pretending we're fine. Her lips tightened, and she looked away again. You're impossible sometimes. No, I said quietly. I just stopped pretending. We didn't speak again the rest of the drive. When we got home, she stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door. I stayed downstairs, sitting in the dark with a glass of scotch I didn't even sip. The city lights flickered beyond the window, and I wondered how long she'd been gone emotionally. How long I'd been trying to save something she'd already buried. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. A note on the counter said, early meeting. Don't wait for dinner. The meeting lasted all weekend. I didn't call her, didn't text. Just let the silence do what I never could. Make her feel the absence of my effort. I spent those days cleaning the garage, shredding old bills, moving her forgotten boxes into the guest room. Each act felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. On Monday morning, I got the call I've been expecting. Derek's wife, Angela. Her voice trembled, but not from grief anymore. From anger. She's at the Marriott downtown. Room 714. He told me he was on a business trip. Are you sure? I asked. I'm done being sure of anything, she said bitterly. Do what you need to do, Mark. And I did. I didn't storm into that hotel like some jealous husband in a movie. That wasn't the revenge I wanted. I was building something quieter, smarter, permanent. While Lily was busy lying in hotel rooms, I was quietly closing joint accounts, freezing her access to the card she used for shopping sprees, and redirecting her rainy day fund to the trust I'd built in my sister's name years ago. The woman who once laughed about how I wasn't ambitious enough was about to learn just how meticulous I could be. 3 days later, she came home. I heard her heels click across the floor before I saw her. You've been avoiding me, she said, tossing her purse onto the counter. Have I? I replied, not looking up from my laptop. She crossed her arms. You've been acting cold ever since dinner. I smiled faintly. Maybe I'm just matching your temperature. Her eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said, standing up. You seem to have a lot of meetings lately. Hope they're productive. Something flickered in her expression. Guilt, maybe fear, but she masked it with annoyance. You're being paranoid. I nodded slowly. You're right. I'm sure I am. Then I walked past her, brushing my hand against the edge of the counter where my phone had been recording the entire conversation. That was the moment she realized she wasn't the only one playing games. By the end of that week, I'd gathered everything. Photos, call logs, text screenshots. Angela helped quietly, sending me timestamps and receipts. It wasn't about humiliating her publicly. Not yet. It was about precision. One night, I placed everything into a single folder labeled Lily's Choices. I left it in the drawer of her vanity, the same one she used to hide her perfume and fake smiles. When she found it, I was already gone. I'd packed a single bag, taken my car, and checked into a small cabin 2 hours north of the city. No calls, no texts, just silence. It took her less than 12 hours to start calling. The first few messages were angry. "You're being childish. Come home so we can talk." Then came the panicked ones. "Mark, where are you? I think we need to fix this." By the time she showed up at the cabin 3 days later, her perfect hair was undone, her eyes swollen from crying. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. "You left," she said breathlessly. "You actually left me. You left me a long time ago," I replied quietly. "I just finally noticed." She shook her head, stepping closer. "It wasn't serious, Mark. I made a mistake. You don't just walk away from 10 years. I stared at her, taking in every word. The same lips that once whispered love now scrambling for survival. "You're right," I said. "You don't walk away. You make sure the other person does." Her brows furrowed in confusion, but I didn't explain. I didn't need to. By the time she drove back home, she discovered that the house was no longer in both our names, that her accounts were inaccessible, that the world she thought she controlled was already slipping through her fingers. And as the first snow of winter began to fall outside that cabin window, I felt something I hadn't in years: peace. But peace wasn't the end of it, because revenge wasn't just about balance. It was about truth, and the truth was about to come crashing into her world in a way she'd never forget. The morning after she found the house papers missing, my phone lit up nonstop. 30 missed calls, 9 voicemails. I didn't answer a single one. I wanted her to sit in that silence, the same one she'd left me in for months. When I finally called her back, my voice was calm, almost casual. "Did you find the folder?" There was a pause on the other end. "You recorded me?" she asked, her voice trembling. I documented the truth. I corrected. "Big difference. You can't just ruin my life because you're hurt, Mark." I almost laughed. "You already ruined it. I'm just giving you the mirror." That night, I got another call, but not from Lily. It was Angela. "She's panicking," Angela said. "She told Derek she's scared you'll expose them. He's blaming her for everything." "Let him," I replied. "He should." Angela hesitated. "You're not planning to go public, are you?" I smiled faintly. "Not yet. I have something better." I wasn't interested in shouting her sins to the world. I wanted her to destroy herself, with her own pride. The next week, Lily returned to work pretending everything was normal. But whispers started circulating. People noticed the tension between her and Derek. HR called them both in after an anonymous email, one that contained copies of hotel invoices, timestamped photos, and a simple note: maybe professionalism should apply outside the office too. That email didn't come from me, but it didn't need to. I'd left breadcrumbs in places she never expected. Shared drives, forwarded messages, even old invoices she thought she'd deleted. The truth has a way of leaking when arrogance gets lazy. When she came home that evening, she looked hollow. Her job gone. Derek had denied everything, leaving her to take the fall. She stood in the doorway, eyes rimmed red. "Was it you?" I didn't answer. I just poured myself a coffee, calm as ever. "Mark," she said, stepping closer, voice cracking. "Please, you've made your point. I lost everything." "Not everything," I said softly. "You still have honesty. You might try using it for once." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I know I messed up, okay? I thought you didn't love me anymore." I felt invisible. I set my cup down, meeting her eyes. "And instead of talking to me, you decided to humiliate me. You made me your punchline, Lily." She swallowed hard, whispering, "I don't even know who I am anymore." "Neither do I said quietly. "But at least I know who I'm not. I'm not your fool." That was the last conversation we ever had as husband and wife. She moved out 2 days later, taking whatever she could carry. I didn't stop her. There was no point. A few months passed. The divorce papers went through smoothly. I signed them in a cafe overlooking the bay, the same spot where I once proposed to her. It felt fitting, ending where it began. Later that evening, while clearing old photos from my phone, I found one of us at our first anniversary. She was laughing, eyes full of love, holding a cake I'd baked myself. I stared at it for a long moment before deleting it, not out of hate, but because I no longer needed proof of who we used to be. Revenge hadn't healed me. It just reminded me how much I'd lost trying to hold on to someone who stopped caring. But it also gave me something I hadn't had in years: peace, control, and the strength to start over. And when people asked what happened between us, I always gave the same quiet answer. She taught me that love without respect isn't love at all. The months after Lily left were strangely quiet, but not empty. For the first time in years, my mornings felt peaceful. No tension, no forced smiles, no pretending, just the sound of coffee brewing and sunlight spilling across the kitchen counter. At first, it was hard not to think about her. I catch myself setting out 2 cups instead of 1, or glancing at my phone, expecting a text that would never come. But slowly, the silence that used to hurt began to feel like freedom. I threw myself into work, not to escape, but to rebuild. The architecture firm offered me a new project, a downtown renovation plan that would take months of dedication. It was exactly what I needed, a reminder that creation could still follow destruction. Every blueprint I drew, every late night at my desk, felt like stitching together parts of myself I'd forgotten. I stopped replaying what went wrong and started focusing on what I could make right. This time for me. One morning, as I walked into the office, my colleague Jenna looked up and smiled. "You look different," she said. "Different how?" I asked, adjusting my tie. "Peaceful," she said. "That's new." And she was right. Peace had always looked foreign on me, but now it fit like something I'd earned. A few weeks later, I ran into Angela, the woman whose husband had been part of Lily's betrayal. We met by coincidence at a coffee shop near downtown. She looked better, lighter. "I guess we both survived," she said with a small smile. "Survival's a good word for it," I replied. She nodded. "You know, I thought I'd hate my husband forever. But after the dust settled, I realized he wasn't worth that kind of energy. Neither was the anger." Her words stayed with me long after she left. Maybe that was the final piece I needed, to understand that revenge might end a chapter, but forgiveness is what lets you turn the page. That night, I went back to the house. It was still mine, but I'd avoided living there for months. When I opened the door, the scent of old memories hit me. I stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the faint mark on the wall where our wedding photo once hung. Instead of sadness, I felt gratitude, because for all the pain she caused, Lily had unknowingly freed me from the version of myself that never said no, that kept trying to fix something that wasn't mine to fix anymore. I walked upstairs, opened the drawer where that old folder, Lily's Choices, had once been, and burned the few remaining papers I'd kept. The flames curled the edges, turning lies into ashes. Watching them disappear, I realized this was what closure looked like. Not revenge, not bitterness, just release. A month later, I signed the final paperwork selling the house. I moved into a smaller place near the water, quiet and warm, where the walls didn't echo with arguments or broken trust. And maybe, just maybe, I started seeing someone new. Not love at first sight, not fireworks, just simple honesty. Someone who asked how my day was and actually listened. One evening, we were having dinner by the pier when a familiar voice called my name. I turned, and there she was, Lily, dressed plainly, eyes tired, standing a few feet away. "Hi, Mark," she said softly. "You look happy." "I am," I said simply. She hesitated. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I nodded. "I know." She waited, maybe expecting me to ask her to sit, to talk. But I didn't. I just smiled, a real one this time. "Take care, Lily." As she walked away, I realized something important. Some stories don't need revenge to end powerfully. Sometimes, the best revenge is peace. That night, as the waves whispered against the pier and city lights danced on the water, I finally let go. Not with anger, not with regret, but with quiet strength. Because I'd learned the hardest truth of all. When someone laughs at the man who tries, one day, he'll stop trying. And that's the moment he becomes unstoppable.